welcome back to Book Club Preview. Today we're looking at The Body in the Library, Chapter 13 and 14. Now, there's a lot going on in this story and a lot of vocabulary, so let's just run right into it. First, Mr. Jefferson's health. I believe it is Inspector Harper talking to Dr. Metcalf about Mr. Jefferson's health, and Mr. Jefferson's really strong and he pushes himself a lot, but all of that activity has actually pushed his heart to the limit, his blood pressure to the limit, his nerves to the limit. He's been working too much and not resting enough, and his doctor has been saying, man, you gotta relax, you gotta let your body rest. But Mr. Jefferson doesn't. So any scare or shock could potentially kill Mr. Jefferson because he's just been working so hard. And I think Superintendent Harper says, so do you think someone might have tried to kill Mr. Jefferson by giving him a shock? And they're like, well, maybe, but sometimes a mental shock is not as shocking as a physical shock. So Mr. Jefferson, when you hear some bad news, you can kind of defend yourself mentally. But when there's like a smash or a clamor or a drop of something, your heart, boom, can just pop. The police detectives start working together a little bit with Sir Henry and with our hero, Miss Marple. And I believe it's Superintendent Harper still. And he says, look, Sir Henry, I need you to go talk to Edwards. Edwards is the butler or the caretaker or the worker, the servant, whatever, for Mr. Jefferson. He has something, but he's not telling us. And I think he's not telling us because we're the police, but you have a personal connection and he might tell you more. Can you go talk to him? Sir Henry says, sure. Says, Miss Marple, I also need your help. She's like, oh, really? Me? And yeah, it's like, yeah, let's just be honest. We need your help. There's a bunch of girls that know Pamela, and they're all saying the same thing, but we think there might be someone who's lying. We don't know who, but you might be able to figure out who it is. And Miss Marple says, yeah, that's not going to be any problem for me. And so they kind of collaborate, and they're like, man, we need to figure this out together. Now, as they're talking, Superintendent Harper is telling Sir Henry, I believe, oh, by the way, we found fingernail clippings in the wastebasket. And Sir Henry's like, well, there you go, Miss Marple, we found the fingernail clippings. It's like, that makes sense now. That was one of the things that I couldn't understand. And they're like, what are you talking about? It's like, well, usually a girl like that, she has long fingernails. So unless she's biting her fingernails, she's going to keep them long. So that was really weird when I saw her body. I said, oh, you said that was one of the things. What else? It's like, well, her clothes. Her clothes were all like old clothes. And I'm like, so what? And she's like, guys are so dumb. A girl like that, if she was going out on a date to see her boyfriend, which is the theory, she would have worn her best outfit. I'm like, well, why would she wear her best outfit? I mean, maybe she was like going to do something practical. And they say, and Miss Marple says, look, nowadays young people don't care about being practical. They care about wearing their best. Even if they're going hiking or rock climbing, they're going to wear their best suits and best dresses. It's like, she wouldn't have thought like that. We would have thought like that, but not her. She wasn't that kind of girl. So something was off. And so that was another one of the things that Miss Marple sees. Well, Superintendent takes off. So it's now Sir Henry and Miss Marple. And Raymond is doing some tennis lessons, finishes them, and he kind of has this like brightness, and then exhaustion. Brightness, exhaustion. It's really kind of interesting. But he sits down with Sir Henry, Mrs. Marple, and they're talking a little bit. And we find out that Raymond, that's not his real name. His actual real name is Thomas Ramon, or Ramon Raymond Starr, and they changed it to give him more of a British sound, a proper sound. But at this other place, they wanted him to sound more Spanish. So they find his real name, Thomas. And he kind of shares his story a little bit. He came from a family that had a home that was wealthy, I guess, had a home for 300 years, but they lost it. One brother went this way, the other family members went other places. And he's just been trying to find a good job. And he found one as being a tennis pro and a dancer. I don't think there's anything else. I mean, he shares his story a little bit. He kind of goes up and down, like bright, sad, bright, sad. And then he leaves to teach Mrs. Jefferson. So as he goes to teach her, McLean comes in and he sits down with Mrs. Harper and the inspector, or not inspector, Sir Henry. And they just start asking, like, oh, how are things going? And McLean's like, I don't know why she's taking lessons. Who is this guy she's taking lessons? He's very defensive. And they just start asking him some questions about where he was, what's he been doing, how did he get the news. And McLean is kind of like, ambiguous. He doesn't give very good details. And then we find out that he actually wasn't very far from this area that they're in now. And Miss Marple says, like, oh, we should go there sometime. You said it's very nice. And he gets, oh, yeah, well, I must be off. And he leaves. So, something a little weird there, but we don't know yet. Mrs. Marple friend comes over, and so Sir Henry leaves, and it's Miss Marple and Mrs. Bantry, and they're talking, and Miss Marple already knows who the killer is. Well, no, I don't know who the killer is yet, but Miss Marple already knows who it is. And Miss Bantry's like, please tell me. It's like, well, I can't tell you because you're going to tell everyone if I tell you. But here's a hint. Everyone's been listening to the stories and they've been too trusting. They've been believing everyone and not really testing things. And Miss Bantry's like, well, what do you mean? She's like, well, and especially in situations like this, I don't believe anybody. And Miss Bantry's like, oh, that sounds awful. And she's like, well, I'm only doing this because I want to have fun. And Miss Marple says, sure, if that's what you're telling me. And Miss Bantry says, fine. Okay, I'm really doing it because I'm so worried about my husband. His life is going to be ruined if we don't find the truth. Miss Marple says, yeah, I know that's why you're doing it. And that's why I'm doing it too. Let's figure this out. All right, chapter 14. Chapter 14, Sir Henry is talking with Edwards, the servant, and now we get some of the real story. One, we already kind of knew this, but Mr. Jefferson has a really strong temper. So he's pretty nice and gentle, but when he's angry, poof, he can get really angry. We also learn that that the other family members didn't like Ruby. We already knew that. And even Edwards thought Ruby wasn't good enough for this inheritance. And in fact, he said she was kind of a schemer. She was tricky. And we learn that there was one incident, maybe it wasn't important, but Ruby had a picture of someone in her wallet, and it fell out once. And Mr. Jefferson said, whoa, hey there, kitty. Hey there, sweetie. Hey there, honey. Who's that? She opens it. It's a picture of some guy. So who's this? Says, I don't know who it is. So don't lie to me. Who is this? He's getting a little angry. He says, oh wait, now that I look at it, oh, it's one of the guys I danced with sometimes. And Mr. Jefferson is a little suspicious of this, but he lets it go. But since that time, he's a little bit more sensitive when he doesn't see Ruby. He's like, where have you been? Where did you go? What did you do? Who do you see? So there could be something here. On Mrs. Marple's side, she's at the police station, and these young girls that were with Pamela are being interviewed, and it's Inspector Harper, or Superintendent Harper, and the girls, and then Miss Marple's just sitting in the room. I don't know, maybe she's crocheting or something. The girls don't really notice her. They answer the questions again and leave, and then finally Miss Marple says, send in Florence Small. Florence Small comes in again, and Superintendent Harper leaves, and now it's just this could be Colonel Melchett too some of these times, but I just think it was Superintendent Harper. And oh my goodness, Miss Marple finds out that Florence has been lying, that actually Pamela got approached by some movie director who was like, we're gonna make you a movie star, come to my hotel and let's take pictures of you to see if you can be the next movie star. And Pamela says, oh my goodness, it's gonna be amazing. And she goes and she dies. But Florence knew, she only told Florence the secret, and Florence kept it a secret because she promised she wouldn't tell anyone, and she was too scared to say anything. But now we know an extra piece of information. Vocabulary. Precarious is risky, putting yourself in dangerous situations. Injurious is careless, not using right judgment. Exert means putting effort, pushing, you're exerting, you're using in your energy, but also means overworking, putting too much energy. Prognosticating is predicting. So a doctor says, if you don't quit eating McDonald's, you will die. But you keep eating McDonald's and you don't die. Well, he's trying to predict. He's trying to diagnose or prognosis. Say what is the problem. Be in your bonnet. I think I meant in there. Or be in one's bonnet. A bonnet is like a hat or cover that ladies wear. If you think of who is a sheep? A sheep and a lady with her sheep. Nursery rhyme, I can't remember. In any case, imagine if you had a bee in your hat, what would you do? Behave unpredictably, wildly. Be in one's bonnet. Acting unpredictable. Rancor, this is the British spelling, is like bitterness, disgust, hate. It's kind of this feeling to it. Sapient is wise, so sapiently is wisely. Acquiesced is agreed. Miss Marple agreed. Frock is an outfit, a dress. A few more here, sorry. Parenthetically is in passing, like parentheses, like in quote, in parentheses. I really like to eat pizza. Pepperoni's my favorite, so I ate pizza yesterday. Parenthetically, parentheses. There's more vocabulary words, but these are just some of the ones that I just chose. Prosaically is ordinarily. Thomas is an ordinary name. If there's other vocabulary words you'd like to know, you can write them in the chat and I'll answer those. Rotund is round. Many girls that are learning to play tennis are unhealthy. They're chubby, they're fat, they're round, rotund. Indiscreet means not keeping a secret. Careless. Miss Bantry is indiscreet. She likes to hint at secrets or share things. Jubilant, happy, energetically happy. When Ruby learned that Mr. Jefferson was thinking about adopting her and giving her $50,000, which would be a lot of money in today's money, she was jubilant, happy, excited. Clean breast of it. You have a secret on your chest. You don't want to share anyone. But once you share it, your chest is free, is clean. Clean breast of it is sharing that secret that you've been holding or carrying. Perjury is lying. Prevocate is being evasive. Actually, you see, kind of. This is being evasive. Inhibitions is something holding you back. Maybe you hear some music and you really want to dance, but you are really scared that people are going to look at you funny, so you hold yourself back. You have these inhibitions. So, for example, what a lot of people do is if they drink alcohol, and this is one of the dangers of drinking alcohol, is the part of your brain that is saying, don't be crazy, that inhibits you, stops working. And so you loose your inhibitions. So that's why maybe movies or something like that, if someone is drinking a lot, they can do things that they wouldn't normally do. Or even in like war, drinking a little bit of whiskey or something can give you more courage to do some scary thing like battle to the death. Okay, these are inhibitions holding you back. The last thing we have here is our discussion question. Out of all the people sharing, someone is lying. Who is lying? There's someone that isn't telling the truth. Miss Marple knows who it is. I have no idea who it is. Well, although we just learned about Edwards and this other girl, but I think there's still someone else that's lying that could be the murderer. Of course, please make your own discussion question. That is all the time that we have for today. Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Book Club Preview. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.